Right now, I have some laundry in the washer, as you can tell from my lack of sheet on the duvet. So I figured I'd use this time just to talk a little bit about the football. And more specifically, I thought one of the biggest stories going around right now is this sort of Tonali incident with betting. And I figured I'd give my 2 cents, or as I'm English, my 2 pence on this situation. And look, I think there's a few ways to go about it, to think about it. But I think to start off, I'll just quickly explain for anyone who doesn't know what's happening. So basically, long story short, Tonali, as well as a few other Italian players, have been caught putting bets on games of football that they've been involved with. Right now, there's lots of different names involved. Some reports saying that up to 40 different Italian footballers are being investigated for what is becoming a major betting scandal coming out of Italy. But I suppose the sort of the golden boy, I don't want to say the golden boy of betting, but sort of the main person in this story is Sandro Tonali, just because he's recently made that big money move to Newcastle, and now it looks like he could be banned for the next 12 months, obviously depending on when he's found, formally found guilty, and then he is, charged. When this happened to Tony, I think there was a good few months before he was found officially guilty, and then he was actually charged and banned. So I still think Tonali will have sort of a few more, maybe another month or two before any ban actually goes ahead. But I think I'll just sort of talk a little bit about it. So, like I said earlier, I think there's a few different ways that we can look at this. I think the first way is that, the first mindset, is the camp of people who say, well, look, it is against the rules to bet. He's bet, so therefore he should get banned. And obviously that's quite a simplistic way to look at the issue. But at the end of the day, that is what happens. Sandro Tonali is definitely aware that you can't bet on games. And he's bet on games. It's cut and dry in the sense that there's an obvious rule, he's broken that rule, and therefore he should get banned. Look, I don't totally disagree with that. However, I think that's sort of a bit too simplistic, because there's also reports saying that there's sort of mental health or addiction issues with Tonali, which could be true. That could be a smokescreen to try to reduce the sentence and let him off the hook a little bit. But also, I'm not really here to speculate on whether people are making stuff up about mental health issues, because I'd rather live in a world where people didn't make that stuff up. If it is true that he has issues with gambling addiction, and he can't really control what he's doing, or he feels like that he's been forced into doing it, or peer pressured, he's sort of fell in with the wrong people. I think maybe you have to be a bit more lenient with the punishment. And if it is a gambling addiction, then he needs to go and get the help that he needs, and he shouldn't be banned from football. He should just be given time to go and try to get the help that he needs to solve this issue. And I think also from the Newcastle perspective, they've just spent huge money on this guy who now may be banned for the next year. I understand that he's quite young, he's 23 years old. When he comes back from his ban, he'll be 24, 25, depending when he is banned and how long the ban is, and if the ban even goes ahead, which there's always a chance that it doesn't if he's found innocent. You've got to wonder, is there something in the contract which means that Newcastle aren't having to pay his full wages when he's out? Or even something like, the money that AC Milan have got. Are Newcastle due to get any of that back? Because surely AC Milan knew this was going to come out eventually. As we've seen straight away, as soon as the first few names started coming out about this betting scandal, all of a sudden all these different names are coming out. So clearly lots of people were in the know. And there were definitely people in the hierarchy of AC Milan who would have known this was going on. So clearly that's why they were so sort of happy to let Tonali go. Obviously the sort of £70 million would have been good as well, but the idea that we're going to get £70 million for a player who wouldn't be able to play for us most of next season anyway. So for them, it's a great bit of business, isn't it? But for Newcastle, you have to feel a bit bad for them. Obviously, you don't feel super bad for them, obviously, because I'm a Sheffield United fan. They did beat us 8-0. And for that reason, I have to be petty and take sort of a little bit of happiness from this situation. And also, they've got so much money that they can just go and get another £70 million midfielder. And then just sort of more generally, I want to speak about betting in football. Obviously, we've seen it with Ivan Toney last year. We've seen it with up to 40 players this year. So obviously, there'll be more players who do it. And I think we need to question the rule about betting on football. So right now it is you can't bet whatsoever on any games. Now, obviously, you can see the reasoning behind that. Obviously, we don't want to promote gambling. Well, you can even call that into question because, they turn around and say you can't gamble at all, but then, every single club, or pretty much every single club, every single stadium is absolutely covered in betting logos, betting sponsors. And even, the Newcastle Stadium, I believe, still has betting sponsors on it. And forgive me if I'm wrong on that, but that feels wrong. Or even, I know that Brentford definitely are sponsored by a betting sponsor. So you've got to think Ivan Toney, who, claimed to be a betting addict, or there are definitely reports of him being a betting addict. He's going to have to wear a shirt of something he's addicted to, right? So there's a bit of hypocrisy there in the first place. But additionally, I feel like if you're placing bets on yourself to score, or for your team to win, or in games that you're not involved in any way, and you're not telling people that you're betting, so as long as you're not telling your mates who are going to play, oh, I'm betting this game, can you get a book sort of thing, I don't think it's a massive issue. Obviously, you'd rather players don't do it, but I don't think they should be getting year-long bans for it. Obviously, if they're betting in a game they're involved in and they're betting that the team's going to lose, or the team's going to draw, or they're going to get booked, or, there's so many different things you can bet on, like he's going to take a throw in at a certain minute, whatever it's going to be. Obviously, in that case, yeah, that is wrong. That should still be a ban for it. But if you bet on yourself to win, or you bet on yourself to score, that's just another incentive for you to do well, really, isn't it? So I don't think it should be seen as that, this major crime, And I think the report with Tonali is that he was betting on games he wasn't involved in, or he was betting on AC Milan to win. Obviously, there is conflicting reports on that. I'm sure, there are some rumours that him or one of the other Italian players involved in the scandal was betting on his team to lose. But I think right now it's difficult to make any sort of conclusive comments because we don't know the full extent of it. This is sort of a breaking story. We know at the very least there's still a lot more to come out. In my personal opinion of betting, it isn't for me. I don't indulge in it. But I suppose if people do it responsibly and they only bet what they can lose and they're not silly with it, and it's not something they're addicted to, then yeah, I think it's fine. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like it's a rush of endorphins, right? In the same way that I might play fantasy football so that I'm more engaged in like a random game in the Premier League, which otherwise I wouldn't be that fussed about. I suppose for betting, people who bet, it can be a similar story to all of a sudden they're going to be invested in a game in the Championship they wouldn't be watching otherwise, or a game in League One they won't be watching otherwise. I think it's quite an interesting sort of nuanced topic, and I'd love to hear your opinions on this. So if you have any thoughts, any feelings, please leave it in the comment section down below. But yeah, thanks for watching. That's all I've got to say on this topic. Right now, if any more news comes out in the next sort of week or two, or months down the line, I'll make sure to talk about that. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.